Boom. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm very much like the kind of designer where I like to see something and like use it as like a launching point. Firefly, again, had its first anniversary like today or this week, and they have a new community page. It even says new right there at the top. And this is usually like either this or Behance is where I start like my creative day. Shout out to Anna McNaught. She's a teammate of mine. She's the loveliest person. Just wanted to say that. But oh yeah, and here's Chris. She's a local. But yeah, like I'll scroll through here, and if there's something that I like or if it stands out to me, I'll just click it and go, okay, like what prompts did they use? Like, has anybody like wanted to use like text to image and you type something in and what you got back just was not at all what you expected? Just clicking this page to get a sense of like what the vernacular is for text to images, I think is super useful. This doesn't really speak to me. I just clicked on it because it was the first thing I saw. So we're gonna skip to one that actually does speak to me. This is quite a lengthy prompt, but it's moody, and if you see my Instagram, you'll find I'm always doing like moody, weird, esoteric shit. Like if you give me a camera, I'm gonna be looking somber somewhere, doing a full split in a back alley some way. So that's my vibe. I don't know about y'all, but that's the energy I come with. Just gymnastics and Adele songs. So yeah, with that out of the way. Yeah, so what I like about this stuff is like you can kind of take it and cook. You can use this as a launching point, like I said. There's a new feature that just dropped today. I haven't really watched the demo of it because I was busy just living my life, but we're gonna learn in real time and use a reference image. The structure feature that they launched today, if you like uploaded an image before as a reference, it would kind of pull from like the colors and the textures and the lighting, but it wouldn't get the same shape. Literally, the word structure. When I saw the feature, I was thinking of that store from like the mid-2000s with all the awful graphic tees that we would wear in like '06 underneath like a blaze. I don't know. I was lonely through high school, so maybe I was the only one shopping at structure. But yeah, so we're gonna upload our own image here to kind of like give this as a launching point, and I'm gonna actually change this prompt, or I'm gonna add to it a little bit. We'll say woman with dark hair, mysterious basement. I don't like that word. So we're just gonna say in a black crew neck, actually a black sweatshirt, seems to have less trouble with that. I'm really into streetwear, and that's kind of how I got my start working with like small apparel brands and just designing for them and then doing photography, running their websites on the back end, and just kind of acting as like a full service, like start to beginning for a lot of like smaller clients right when the lockdowns happened. And so like everything I kind of do is through that prism of like, how could I wear this eventually? And so with this, I'd love to do some streetwear, just kind of hood this up a little bit. And so I'm gonna upload an image, which I took while I was in Japan. Here's the picture. Hopefully it pops up and lets us see it so you guys can experience. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, these are a couple photos I took when I was in Japan. I literally took these with an LG G3. Shout out to Lightroom for just doing the Lord's work. And so these are going to be the images that we use. Spruce these bad boys up. We're going to go to upload, and then here we are. I'm going to do this green one now that you guys have seen it. And we're going to agree to all the agreements. I'm just going to check to make sure that this isn't stolen. And I'm going to just crank up the strength all the way and then hit try prompt. And we're just going to see what this does. So yeah, while it's loading, I know that a lot of different generative AI models were trained in various ways. I can't speak to all of those, but I know that for Adobe, they use like the Adobe stock images and creative that's up there. This is way spookier than I intended. I'm really sorry about that. So we're just gonna switch up. I was talking and I wasn't looking down at the Ring version 2. So we're just gonna do boy wearing a sweatshirt, and hopefully what we get is anything but that. God damn. So yeah, our model was trained using like our own stock images, and those contributing artists, were compensated for it. If you want to become an Adobe stock artist, you can opt in or out to that program, and if you decide to opt in to having your images used, you'll be compensated. We're going to try this again. We're going to crank this up. So it's got the structure. We're going to try a different image because that one just seems to be spooky time. Hopefully this one's a little bit happier. Again, this just dropped today, but listen, it's okay to not do well the first time you're out. That's my career. We'll upload another image to act as like a reference maybe for lighting, and that will hopefully do what we would like. And if you're a photographer actually, or if you are an aspiring photographer even, you can go down and check photo settings and actually play around with like the aperture. I do a lot of photography now, and so like I've been dragging the shutter lately and having like a lower shutter speed. And then also my field of view, I tend to be all up in your life, so you can set it to 80. I tend to shoot at 70, and then my aperture, I tend to put that at 7.1. But we'll use that as a reference, and I'm going to hit generate now that it's a photo. And just give this another second. Y'all are a patient bunch, so I really appreciate this. All right, my goodness. Okay, so yeah, we've got a few results here. If we like them, we can keep them. If we don't have to. And you can edit it in two different places, well, a bunch of different places, but you can edit it right in Express, or you can edit it here in Firefly. So we're gonna do that because I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of advice. So yeah, we'll do generative fill. I'm gonna add, let's say like a plane. One thing to keep in mind is when you go to add something into the picture using generative fill, please go over to this toggle because it doesn't by default conform to the style prompt that you already have. So I was doing this earlier and it was just, I just had like normal shit in it. I thought I was having like a stroke. It was like a regular person, like in a cartoon, and I don't know. I want you guys to avoid that existential crisis. So we're gonna add in a plane and hopefully its style matches. If you get results that you don't like, please leave feedback because we're so like close to the ground with this that the feedback that you have actually does go a long way. One of the reasons why it's populating now with so many by POC results is because I had a talk with the team. I was typing in beautiful person and I wasn't getting anybody with a little melanin, and now after a few conversations it's super chocolatey, which is what I love to see. So we're gonna download this. Yeah. We're going to hear a little bit about promoting transparency in AI. I know that for especially image and sound and video, there's a lot of due concern about the authenticity of work, like where is it coming from? Is this even real? And so Adobe allows you to tag all of your content with the content credentials. If you see an image, you can actually visit this website and upload a photo, and it should tell you where things are from and how it was made. We're going to do that right here with the photo that I just downloaded. Pay no mind to the font file that I downloaded, totally legit. And so here we are with the credentials here. It says it was using Firefly as the tool that it was made with. And so just to give people peace of mind, you can opt into this and just have that little sense of security. And I've been really excited about Firefly, not just on the web browser, but how it's been kind of like worked into all the other apps. Again, my style is all about just kind of like using something as like a launching point and moving forward. And we're going to do a little bit of that in Illustrator because I just love like playing around like the text to vector. Has anybody played with this at all? Okay. So yeah, we talked earlier. You play with all the things. You're caught up. So I'm going to show you guys some cool features that use AI to come up with actual editable vectors. Like I said, I started KESA back in 2020, and the first client I had was an apparel brand, and they were like, "Hey, can you design like a women's basketball jersey for this team out in China?" I had not designed shit up until this point. And I was like, "Yeah, when do you need it by?" They're like, "Tomorrow." So I was like, "Bet." So I spent all night just like YouTubing how to do it. Some YouTuber was like, "Hey, you should use Illustrator, Toren." I said, "Okay, cool, what's that?" So I downloaded it, and the very first thing I figured out how to do in 2 hours was this. 2 hours later. And that's been my logo ever since. Word to YouTube. So yeah, I just stuck with it. That was the first graphic decision I made. I'm a designer now, a professional designer because I got paid to do that shit. 2 hours, company time. Word. So once things kind of took off, they really took off. By August of 2020, I was making more per month than I had annually at any other job I'd ever had. And so that feeling of like having an idea and turning it into something physical and having like a complete stranger wear it is awesome, and I want to give that to as many people as possible. And so now that I'm at Adobe and I get the chance to be in front of all you hotties, I can kind of pitch this as an idea. And so I've decided to start my own nonprofit, which is called Future Design Studio, where I pair artists, friends of mine, with aspiring creatives and help them launch their own e-commerce brand, because you can literally on your phone start a brand with zero overhead and use like a print-on-demand service. And so I'm always thinking about that 16-year-old who just doesn't even realize that they have the greatest taste, but they don't know how to use Illustrator, or they can't afford the MacBook Pro to get things working their way. But now suddenly they can launch their own brand and make 20, 30 grand a month like I was, just off their own designs, off their phone. And so that's my plan. But I haven't told any of my friends this yet. I would like to reach out to them and let them know, but like with clients, sometimes I just have to see it. And so we're gonna put together some branding so I can reach out to my friends and say, hey, do you wanna donate like a ton of time and energy to strangers so they can make a bunch of money and you don't? So we're gonna workshop this very basic template using Generative-Ai. And so I will explain this to you in just a second, but the first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this object in Illustrator, and you can actually do text to vector, but style match with something on the artboard or the entire artboard itself. I'm gonna keep the settings right now to a subject, so it's gonna come up with like a person. And I'm going to keep the settings to black and white. You can't have color, and we'll do that in a second. But I'm going to pick a style reference, which is going to be this vector art that I found on Adobe stock. My daughter, who I mentioned before, who just turned 2, we've been watching a lot of Mickey Mouse lately, but like not the fun Mickey Mouse, so you'd like let borrow your car at 2 a.m., like spooky 1930s Mickey. And so I've had like this style on mine for a long time. And so I'm going to generate I typed in a very simple 1930s retro cartoon, mascot planet, Earth skateboarding with camera and sunglasses. That is the prompt that I gave it. So it's an awful lot. They said to keep it concise, and here we are breaking the rules. Who gives a shit? So let's do our own thing. And hopefully it generates with something dope. All the results I've gotten so far have been super cute, and we're gonna use this as our launching point. So yeah, look at homie. I love this. Let's zoom in. That's my guy. That's my dude. That's my guy. We can look at some other options. It will generate 3. Yeah, all these are super fun, and they're all editable. You can see the anchor points. Word to people who have just started with Illustrator or plan to. Once you get a hold of those bad boys, yo, you're cooking, fam. Like that's it. That's the whole thing. So I encourage you to play around with all of those. So I've got a little icon that we're going to start with. Cool. Now I need to have a little bit of color. And like when I first started, I kind of like kept to like blacks and whites, like a very muted palette, and then I go, okay, at the end I'm going to introduce some color. Turns out it's kind of hard to do, and so I've been forcing myself lately to like start with color and kind of take things as I go. And so we're going to change this. It's not going to be a vector anymore. Excuse me. It's not going to be a subject. We're going to do text to pattern, and you can upload your own colors if you're particular, like I am. And we're going to change the prompt. Just going to delete all this and make sure nothing else is in there. We're going to type in bold clouds, and it should generate a pattern using the color palette that I have. And this stuff is super fun. I've got some results from earlier, but I want to show you guys just kind of like what the process looks like when it's generating. If you're unfamiliar with Firefly, it uses or the model was trained rather, using the stock images in Adobe stock, and those contributing artists were compensated for it. If you want to be a stock artist on Adobe stock, you can opt in or out of having your work used to train the AI model, and if you opt in, you'll obviously be compensated as well. So. Again, I know that there's a lot of conversation around the ethics of how these models have come to be, and I know that the team at Adobe really does care about doing it as ethically as we possibly can. But these patterns are A, super cool, but B, more importantly, they're completely editable, so I can go to edit pattern. And speaking of AI generated stuff, we can do recolor. You can do a generative recolor using a text prompt, so we can type in Miami and see what it does. I think it's great to have as many ideas thrown at you as possible when it comes to this stuff. Turns out not all ideas are great, so that's a different thing. So we could just act like that didn't happen and go back the traditional way, because why not? I've got a color palette here, and we can just kind of hit shuffle and see what we get. And you can add these colors in to your text prompt as well. That just takes a little bit of time, and I'm not trying to do all that. So we'll go with this. And again, these are all completely editable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Object and Path, and then Smooth. Smoother than Luther Vandross singing to Dionne Warwick at the 1985 Motown Awards. If you get that reference, then we're family. Okay, so we're going to stretch this now, right? And kind of shuffle this a little bit. Maybe I want to use the direct select. Speaking about another lesson learned when I first started, that was a pretty crucial one. And we're gonna go, okay, save a copy of this pattern. We're gonna call this Jacksonville. Go OK, add it to our swatches, hit done, and now we've got a pattern just like that. Again, just kind of using the prompt and editing it and tweaking it until we have something completely bespoke. So we've got a vector, we've got a pattern, dope. I can pop on down to that original like logo layout that I had, and I can start applying some of these patterns and colors. But first, what I want to do is make this font look like this font, but because I was in a bit of a rush, this is a PNG and not live, but one awesome feature that AI is doing that's going to make everybody's life easier, you can actually match font using AI, and it will scan it, and it'll go, oh, okay. Yeah, the people who know are like, thank you, the client just sent me something, they sent me a JPEG, and they said remake this, and I spent 9 hours just looking for the effing font. So yeah, this was called Fat Frank Heavy. I was clearly in a place when I chose this font, and that's okay. We all have ups and downs. And not only can you do that, but if you're really in a mood, you can select it, do apply. Some of you guys are gonna start crying. And you can edit that font. I know, it's wild. I know. So once we've got that good to go, I'm going to select this font because I'm a responsible, planned person. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, and then I've got the font saved in my favorites because I'm slick on occasion. Fat Frank, here we go. We're going to smush this font a little bit. Okay. All right, cool. Hold on. Don't judge me yet. We're going to go to Effect. I'm going to do a wave. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Type, and I'm going to create outlines because I don't learn lessons, folks. And so we're here, and then I'm going to go over to Edit or Object again. We're going to go to Path, and we're going to smooth this a little bit just because I want those rounded, cartoonish corners. Okay. And now if you're really if you're in the know, go down to 3D materials, do the depth at 50, set the X to 13. Yeah, okay. Do the same here. Brand synergy, everything's looking the same. We're gonna go to swatches. We're gonna drop that pattern that we're gonna pretend I made on the fly. Let's find one. I just sit around and I just do, okay. Look at us go. We're gonna go back to that super creepy little design that I came up with, right? This guy, our dude. We're gonna copy him. We're gonna paste this. And we're going to add this here, and I'm just going to hold down Control. And now I'm starting to get this somewhere. And we could spend all day massaging this, but word to Paula Dean, we don't even have to do all that. I have one already set to go. So we go to Layers, because I have one hidden. Because like I said, I'm responsible like that. And this is what you can get to if you just spend a little bit more time messing around. But this is all editable, right? So we've got a vector, we've got a graphic. Thank you guys. Nobody's clapped at this yet, and I'm up here cooking. Whew. Y'all are the best. Who knew? Hot and nice. What a rare combo. Okay, so we've got the vector. One thing that I always work with a lot when I'm doing vector work are mock-ups. And if anybody's ever made a displacement map, you know that this is the absolute most nightmarish thing in the world to have to do. So if I I left a note for myself, dimensional tool fam, we'll get to it. I have a mock-up made. I've got a few mock-ups made, but you can use the mock-up generator tool and apply your live vector to an image right here in in Illustrator. But what makes this special, really special, is that not only can you play around with the vector, but it displaces in real time. So if I select just the layer, if it lets me, sometimes it doesn't, we might have to make a new one. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just do this on the fly again real quick. So I'm going to get this, go to Object, Mockup. Be nice if I had the mockup window open. Thank you guys again for being so patient. This stuff is all brand new. This is my boss, Paul, who's watching me via video. Very ominous. Paul, I swear I'm doing my best out here, bro. I'm going to get my vector from here. I'm going to hide this other layer so that you guys don't have to see it. I now know to make a dimensional tool reference at some point later on in this presentation. Maybe I won't because I'm kind of a rebel. Yeah, we're gonna ungroup this. Get this out of the way, cool. Regroup really quickly. Group. And now we're gonna make ourselves a mock-up using this. Awesome. I'm gonna place it. And like I said, it displaces in real time. That's incredible, I'm just saying. It's incredible. I messed up and somehow that made it demo even better because it happened so quickly. Yeah, that's how helpful this tool is. Okay, so we've got that ready to go. There's one more tool, which I literally left a note for myself. Let me see if I can find it again. Doop. No, but I don't want this layer. Where's the layer? Here. So the dimension tool. If you're like an actual adult and you do like real stuff in Illustrator like packaging, there's a tool now that helps you in real time measure the length of things with like actual units of measurement. I was trying to get a shirt printed the other day and the printer was like, how big is the logo? And the sound of me trying to math the pixel to inches ratio was so embarrassing. I was like, we can't talk anymore. And so to know that this tool is in here to kind of keep me from sounding dumb is super useful. And so these are just like a few of the new things coming to Illustrator, but we're gonna take this workflow out of Illustrator. We're gonna add all these layers to our library. Does anybody use libraries here? Y'all are responsible and we're good friends. And so I've already added each kind of individual element into our library, and now we're gonna swoop on over to Photoshop. So please come with me, field trip. And keep this in mind. We're not gonna start here, but we'll come back to this. So yeah, I like having all my libraries good to go. You can, like I said, just drag and drop your vectors onto your own mockups if you want, because you save them in libraries, you don't have to export anything. And working with lifestyle brands, there are so many times where we had to go out and do photo shoots without the garments that we were gonna sell. Like if you think not selling anything is stressful, imagine selling a bunch of shit you don't actually have yet. That's working in apparel. And so we would run around and do photo shoots and I would have to Photoshop all the assets and garments later. And so now I just have this habit of like being the main character when I'm out in public and taking photos thinking I might need them later, like this one. And so this is at the MoMA in San Francisco where I was definitely ruining the experience for everyone around me to get these photos. And in doing so, if you look, I am sweating through my life. Yeah, I'm dying of actual sweat dehydration. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys a few ways that you can massage these mishaps out. So you can do something like the adjustment tool and just highlight my perspiration and it will go away, but that's actually like baked into the layer. And I know you Photoshop folks are very much like, you know, save everything, don't have anything be destructive. So if you don't want to do it that way, you can go over to the lasso tool and just make a quick little lasso edit and then do generative fill and not even type anything, just like look ma no hands, and it will read the rest of the image and hopefully come up with something that isn't spooky. One time I typed in make this normal and it had little like fairy feet walking behind me. I was like, bro, please don't do that again. But yeah, so now the sweat stains are gone. It still isn't the most ironed, but that's okay. We don't even want a gray version of this shirt. What we're gonna do is I'm going to take the selection that I made earlier because I'm being responsible, and I'm gonna type in black crew neck or black sweatshirt. And I will warn you now, Photoshop wants my sleeves off. So even though I type in black sweatshirt, what we get, Photoshop is thirsty. If it gets uncomfortable, if you got kids in here, tell them to look away for like the next 2 minutes, because I'm not responsible for whatever. It's been trying to get me down to nothing. I told you. It just wants my arms exposed. So we've got, it's okay. We've got some options. You can play around with it, get something else, and then like I said, go to your brand libraries, add your logo in really quickly. I actually didn't even make a displacement map. I just played around with the blending tool. I think I have this layer set to, screen, and then you can double click on the layer and it will come up with different like options for if you want the gray from beneath it to show up. all very in the weeds stuff, but in a matter of minutes, you can go from, I don't even have the sweatshirt, bro, but I've got a photo of me ruining people's day at the San Francisco MoMA. So now I've got some lifestyle photography ready to go. And we're going to continue with that theme because I want to get the back of this shirt as well, if anybody can see it. But there's a family that's kind of ruining the experience for us. And, as much as I'm a father myself, but sometimes you're killing the vibe, bro. So we're just going to get rid of this very lovely family using generative fill again. And has anybody played around with generative expand? Okay, like I said, y'all are experienced. Experienced, hot, and fun. Okay, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time. So we've gotten rid of them in a matter of minutes, but we're going to do some generative expand because I shot this widescreen like a sociopath, and nobody even uses that aspect ratio anymore. And so I'm just going to generate so that I can share this on social. Because 1x1 widescreen, it's not it in 2024. Everything has to be vertical now. So we've got this, but what I forgot to tell you guys is that this actually isn't even a photo. This is a video. This is a full-on video. We just did generative expand on a video. Yeah, in Photoshop. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? We can go back to layers and just press play. Me itching myself at the MoMA. Me just getting rid of the itches. Taking photogs at the MoMA. Is nobody else? Can we just enjoy this for what this is for a second? This was a video. Look at me pretending like I wonder, I gotta be artsy right now. Like let me look at this art real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna make my art off this art. It's, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. All right, so we've got this good to go. We've got some lifestyle photography. We've got some mock-ups made. But nobody goes from Photoshop just to Instagram or TikTok. I swear, like the app knows. It's weird. Don't do it. So one place I like to go to is Adobe Express. And so our brand library that we just built over in Illustrator is still right here in Adobe Express for us to use as like a brand launching point. If you're new to being a creative or the tools that a lot of us use on a day-to-day basis are just kind of a barrier to entry cost-wise, this is why Express is so meaningful to me because it's all browser-based. You don't have to have a $10,000 computer in order to run this. Again, you can do many of the same features right here in Express, like generative fill, text to type or text to image. All those things are right here. And so again, if you're just getting started or if things just haven't clicked yet financially, this is still a perfectly viable option. And you can start with templates. Like, again, I love just taking something and running in that direction, or if it speaks to me, I'm always listening, and I'll just go do my own thing once I hear it. And so I found a template earlier that I really like. I don't know what's going on here or what this is for, but it stuck out to me. And like I said, if it speaks to me, I'm listening. So we'll use this as a very loose jumping off point because I'm about to delete all this stuff. But at least I'm designing now. As soon as I click delete, I'm designing. So we're going to select the text layer here. Embrace the pink isn't the slogan for my non-for-profit brand, Future Design Studio. And this isn't the font that I want either, even though I do like it. I can actually go over to my brands library, and let's go down to Future Design. And there's Fat Frank, that same font that I used earlier. I don't want this stacked like this. I actually want an arch, right? And one of the things I love the most about Express is if you've ever tried to animate anything in like Premiere Pro or God forbid After Effects, you know that that's just a completely difficult thing to do. Like I get really anxious just talking about it. And so we can do that very quickly right here in Express. Let me select this layer again, pardon me. Make sure that the animation's stuck. I don't need it to spin that quickly. So we've got this animation layer. I'm gonna cook for a second, pardon me, Emerald Lagasse style. Switch this upside down. I'm gonna talk my way through it. Cool. I'm gonna move this layer just to here. I'm gonna go back to my stuff where my brand libraries are. I'm in the wrong library, that's okay. We're gonna find the right one. I'm gonna select that flower from before that my friend Swoop Nebula made. I'm gonna put this in between these layers like this, and then I'm gonna hit play. And look at that, we're so dope. Awesome, and so I'm gonna lock these layers and shuffle this off to the side. Then I'm gonna go back to my desktop so I can import an image, or I'll go to media and upload from my device because I can do that from there, and hit this mock-up that we made earlier that I made reference to, Quentin Tarantino style, start with the end and work our way back. And I'm gonna move this back here. And I'm gonna lock this layer for now so I don't mess everything up. If you work with like other people, like if you've got clients now to finish with all your hard work, you can lock a layer so that they can't destroy your vision, which is super huge for me because, like I said, I'm pretty particular. I wanna add a little bit more text here, right? Because I love naming shirts. When I first started, I would name all my colorways like sneakers because that's all I knew. Like I'm a huge sneakerhead and like my favorite sneakers have names. And so I figured if I have different colors for a shirt, then it would also have its own name. And so I was listening to a song when I was designing this called We're From Nowhere, and it stuck. So we're gonna add some text here. And it's using the same font, which is dope. Let's move this so you guys can at least see it. I'm gonna select everything. I'm gonna put this in caps. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. We're from nowhere. And put this in quotations. I'm gonna drag this, right? And I like having the alignment off to the right. And I know what line height I want, which is very easy to find here. Sometimes in Photoshop, you're like, where's the properties panel? I can't find it anymore. And we're gonna make this a little bit bigger. Let's scooch this on over to this size. And one thing I've been playing around with lately, because it tends to bother people, is I like having things cropped like just a little bit, like clipped a little. And so that's part of my little signature. It's like the wet bandits in Home Alone. Like I'm just destroying shit. And so we've got those two elements there. We're gonna go back to our brand library, right? Your stuff, add my logo. When I click on it, you see how easy this is? And we're gonna make this pop when it comes in. I'm gonna animate this as well. Go over the animation, introduce it with we can Tokyo Drift in here, so we're gonna Tokyo Drift actually. And so if I press play at the beginning of the timeline, yeah, it's all coming together. So let's say that we have this ready to go. I'm gonna unlock this layer actually. And it's starting to look okay, but we can add elements that we maybe didn't make ourselves, which is huge for a lot of brands that are just starting out. And so I'm going to add a video layer using Adobe Stock and type in cartoon, because again, we were inspired by the creepy Mickey Mouse cartoons that my daughter's obsessed with. And there should be a layer. If it's not here, I'm gonna have a panic attack, but it is, so we're good. And I'm going to rotate this in just a second. 90 degrees, I'll show you why in a bit. I'm gonna zoom out so I can actually crop this properly. You guys are the best, by the way. How's everybody doing? You guys are doing all right? Good, everybody's doing well. And we're gonna align this. Okay, so now we're gonna zoom back in so everybody can see it to, let's do 75%, no, that's too much, 50%. And we're gonna make this hold on, we're gonna change the opacity just a touch. And we're gonna make this the back layer, but Toren, we can't see it. Here's the only feature my parents care about. It's like, can you remove the background? Yes, Mom and Dad, you can remove the background. And so now, let's watch this. Okay, so it's starting to come on brand a little bit. Awesome. We're gonna take this layer and we're gonna animate this as well. We're gonna have it breathe, because why not? Yeah, and we're gonna make this a little bit slower and way less intense. And now we have an animated ad in like 2 seconds here, all from assets that we used AI as like a launching point for. We're not done. We're not done. So once we have this, again, who uses one by one anymore on social media? What kind of person does that? Somebody who's unhinged. You can quickly resize using any one of the template aspect ratios. If you do display ads in like Google Ads, like you know that like all the display ads are the weirdest aspect ratios, and exporting out of Photoshop, it's like, why would I ever export like 170 pixels by 32 pixels? Like it's just so weird. And it's really easy in Express. I actually think it's easier here than it is in some of the other apps like Photoshop or Illustrator. So I can select a size and duplicate and resize. And now if I click this other one, we've got the same ad. That's why I turned it on its side, so the cartoon didn't clip. Yeah. Who's not forward thinking now? Me. So, okay, we've got this ready to go. We can add it to our brand libraries. We can schedule it using the content scheduler. If I go to share, literally this morning they just added this where you can schedule. So if you have access to a bunch of brand Instagram accounts, you can now schedule to all of them without having to log in and out of them anymore. So you can have multiple Instagram accounts scheduled in your calendar if you're responsible like that. Clearly I'm not, but if you are, God bless. And so we're gonna do a quick scheduling of the post. If it lets me, and it has, it's going to let me select Twitter, which I mentioned earlier. I only use for Real Housewives. My wife watches it now. I'm a super fan. Garcelle and I, we're soul sisters. So yeah, you can add your caption, join future design studio. Together, we can change the world. And I genuinely believe that because I'm a kid from the worst street in my town. I taught myself in 3 years, all the tools that I have now. I work for Adobe. My ability here isn't even that unique. There are a lot of kids with way more talent and much more vision than I have. I just got lucky and was able to afford the first laptop that I bought back in 2020 and take it from there. And so I think about all the other people who are way more gifted than me, who just haven't had the door open for them yet. And tools like Adobe Express break that door open. And so I really do believe that if people just kind of are exposed to tools like this, we really can change the world. I mean, think about the 16-year-old who launches an e-commerce brand off of his phone using Adobe Express with no overhead, all print on demand, and suddenly he's making 20 grand a month. Like, what does that mean for his immediate community and the people around him? There are tangible effects, and so that's the sort of stuff that I'm here for. Everything else is kind of icing on the cake, but please, if you're a pro designer and you've got access to all the cool stuff and your arms have been crossed this whole time and you're not impressed by anything I do, that's great. Please put somebody else on who it would make a big impact for, because they're next and their time is well overdue. So thank you all so much for letting little old me come up here and do my thing. I had a blast.